So last week we were studying about how to pray when you're in distress. And today we're going to discuss about how to pray when you're in need of some wealth. And many of us subconsciously wish that we had more material resources and facilities than what we have. And some are just happy and content with whatever they have. So regardless of what material condition that we are in, we can always offer prayers, because prayers is the natural language of the heart. So that this is why we are exploring this beautiful island. We're exploring the 9 islands of the heart. So this island is called Vandanam, or prayers. This is our 4th call on this topic because it's such a beautiful topic. Because it requires nothing. It just requires a little bit of your time and some mental space and some heart space. So there is a very beautiful story. I would like to first start with a story. And I was trying to share this story with Keshavi to read it, but was not able to share that story with her and screen sharing. So I want to read it to you, because normally I'm always just telling you the stories. I want to read some parts of the story and share more in depth of this story, and then read a little bit more and then share more with you. Will that be okay with all of you? Okay. So this is a story from the Srimad Bhagavat Puranam. It's one of the very ancient yoga text. This is a story of a young prince. His name was Dhruva, Dhruva. So please bear with me. Dhruva Maharaj was born as the son of a great king. The king had 2 wives, and he had 2 children, one by each one of his queens. One day, while Dhruva's stepbrother, Uttama, was playing on the lap of the king, Dhruva also wanted to play on his father's lap. You can picture the king, whose name was Uttanapad, sitting on the throne in a leisurely moment, in an affectionate mood, with one of the boys on his lap. His boy Dhruva, who was 5 years old, climbed up on his father's knee, but his father did not receive him with any particular attention or affection. Moreover, Dhruva's stepmother came forward and chastised Dhruva. "My dear boy," she said, speaking loudly so that everyone could hear, "you cannot sit on the lap of your father. Although you are his son, you are disqualified because you have not taken birth in my womb." Dhruva's stepmother, Suruchi, was the favored wife of the king, and so he allowed her to speak out, although she was giving pain to his little son. She said, "If you want to sit on your father's lap," she went on, "you must first worship the Supreme Personality by penances and austerities, and then in your next life, you can take birth in my womb. Then it may be possible." Pretty harsh, stepmother. Some of you may be able to resonate with this emotion. Dhruva burst into tears and ran home, taking shelter of his mother, to whom he blurted out the whole story. "My dear boy," said Dhruva's mother, "what can I do? Your father loves your stepmother as his favorite, and he does not even consider me. What the queen said was true. You must worship the Supreme Personality, and then it might be possible for you to sit on the throne. Dhruva was of the warrior class and therefore very fiery by nature. He wanted to get the kingdom which he deserved as the son of the king, and he would not settle for being reduced and insulted. Who must I see? He demanded. What must I do to get the kingdom? In a passionate mood, the boy was ready to do anything to get what he wanted. But because he was just a little boy, he had to ask his mother what steps to take. His mother answered him wisely, you must worship the Supreme Personality. Since both his mother and stepmother had mentioned God, the Supreme Person, as the controller of his fortune, Dhruva intelligently asked him, where is God? His mother replied that she only knew that saintly persons went to the forest to find him. Thus Dhruva left his father's city and went to the forest. In the forest, Dhruva inquired from all the animals, are you God? Are you God? So in this way, he asked all the animals in the jungles as he traversed the jungle, searching in the only way he understood. Although he knew nothing about spiritual discipline, he inquired from tree to tree and beast to beast as to where God could be found. Because Dhruva had a great desire to find the Supreme Absolute. Narada Muni, the eternal spiritual master who travels in space to all the planets in his mission to deliver love of God, appeared before him. According to Vedic scriptures, means the yoga text, when one is sincerely searching for God or Krishna, divine sends that person a bona fide spiritual master to give instructions how to reach him. The Supreme is in the hearts of all the living entities. And the Supreme Divine had directed Narada Muni, the spiritual master, from within the heart to go and instruct Dhruva. Narada, the spiritual teacher, was surprised to see how courageous Dhruva was in his demand to see God. He approached him in the forest and said, my dear child Dhruva, I know of your situation, but you should not take seriously the insult that your father has given. You have come to the forest to find God, but this requires very difficult and austere yoga practices, which is impossible for you. My advice is that you go home and play with your friends. After you grow up, you can try to follow this difficult process. This young boy Dhruva could not accept Narada's advice. Dhruva said, I have been insulted by my stepmother, and I have come to find God to get the kingdom I deserve. Narada had instructed Dhruva not to take the insult very seriously, but the boy was stubborn. Narada Muni, being a true spiritual teacher, is known to be kind and eager to see all souls go back to the spiritual realm. Therefore, he mercifully agreed to teach Dhruva how to find God. Dhruva told his teacher, I want a kingdom not only greater than my father's, but greater even than the Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Narada asked Dhruva to perform the process of yoga known as the Eightfold Path, which begins with the practice of sitting postures, breath control, and for the purpose of subduing the mind. Control of the mind is necessary for meditation on the transcendental, divine personality. Narada described the form of the divine. In addition to the meditation on the eternal blissful form, Narada also instructed Dhruva to chant the sacred mantra, pray to the Lord and worship the deity form of the divine. One must act very seriously in order to achieve success. Then there is no anxiety about reaching perfection. So Dhruva Maharaj took severe penances for 6 months in order to realize God. First month, he ate only fruits and berries every third day, and that only to keep the body and soul together in his worship of the Supreme. Second month, Dhruva only ate once every 6 days, and he ate only dry grass and leaves. Thus, he continued to worship. Third month, he simply drank water once every 9 days, and he remained completely in trance, worshiping the Supreme Personality. Fourth month, Dhruva mastered the breathing exercise, and he would inhale air only every 12th day. Fifth month, controlling his breathing, Dhruva concentrated his mind fully on the Supreme Person and stood on one leg like a motionless column. Sixth month, Dhruva became completely absorbed in trance upon Lord Vishnu. He suspended his breathing, closed all the holes of his body, and identified so closely with Lord Vishnu in consciousness that when he stopped breathing, the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the big demigods in the universe fell suffocated. As Dhruva engaged in his meditation, the form of the divine in his heart, which was fully absorbed, all of a sudden disappeared, just like an electric lightning. Being perturbed, Dhruva broke his meditation, opened his eyes, and saw before him the Supreme Personality, the very form on which he was meditating. When the vision in his heart disappeared, he thought that he had lost him. But now he saw Vishnu standing before him. Dhruva fell flat before Vishnu in respect. Dhruva wanted to offer prayers in profound respect, but because he was a small boy, he could not adjust himself properly, nor could he even speak. However, being situated within everyone's heart, Vishnu could understand Dhruva's emotions, and he touched his head with the conch shell. Upon being touched by Vishnu's conch shell, Dhruva could finally pray, and he expressed his transcendental sentiments, which was cherished by all. Since he could only speak when he was given the intelligence directly by the touch of Vishnu's conch shell, it is understood that he was dictated from within the heart. So, the story is a little longer. So I want to dive a little deeper into this story, because this was a story that I've written for children. And we are all children. And one of the very interesting points in this is that we all have interesting psychophysical natures. Each and every one of us, we have individual psychophysical nature. Our psychology and our physiology is different. There's no two people who are the same. So, in these psychophysical natures, we see Dhruva, he is a prince. And when you're a prince, you have a certain nature to be a ruler. of a kingdom. And so he was born to be the next king. And when he was deprived of that, he was supremely angry, even though he was just 5 years old. And within that, you see his determination to get what he deserves, what he feels that he deserves, which is his father's kingdom. After the father dies, the second in command becomes the king. So he was so determined to have the kingdom that he was ready to sacrifice everything. So he left his mom. Imagine, 5-year-old kid just walking away from the mother. I mean, it's just unimaginable. And so determined that when he goes to the forest, nothing deters him because, he did his meditation in a forest called Madhuban. It's one of the 12 forests in Vrindavan that we'll be visiting on our yoga tour here. We're going to go to this place called Madhuban, and this is where this young prince Dhruva meditated to have the divine presence of the divine from within the heart come out and actually be visible to the eyes of someone who is praying. Many times people pray and they say, "Oh, I've never seen God." But God is not seen, the divine is not seen with our eyes. The divine is seen with divine eyes. So our eyes have to be anointed with pure love, unconditional love. When our eyes are anointed with that love, then from the heart, we're able to see through those eyes, see and feel the presence of the divine. And this is how prayers work. Sometimes the divine may come in the form of another human being to assist one another in their pursuits in life. Because divine is in all beings. So many times we see someone helping each other. We think, "Oh, I've been praying and God never shows up." But then someone else came and helped you out. Who was that? Who sent that person? Right? But we see the divine and yet we don't recognize the divine because we don't have that. In yoga language, it's called prema anjana, the eyes of unconditional love. So this term is used in Sanskrit yoga language, prema anjana, the eyes of divine love. So unless we have that, we are not able to see the divine, even though it's present in everything and in everyone. So this young boy, he is talking to the trees. He's really desperate to see the divine because he's not able to see the divine within his heart. He's only 5 years old. He doesn't know where to find him. All his mother said was, "You find him in the jungles." And mother's words are absolute truth. The mother knows what's best for the child. So imagine such deep detachment and yet attachment does the mother have for the child, that she is ready to let go of this child because this child is so determined to fight for his rights. 5 years old, ready to let him go. I don't think any mothers would allow their 5-year-old to just run off to the forest and start meditating for 6 months. I don't know if Claudia would let her son just go for 6 months to the forest and meditate. 5 years old with wild animals. So it's quite a fascinating story, because in the Puranas they give this story that mothers are such deep well-wishers for the children. And she was so convinced that her son, because of his sheer determination, would be able to accomplish the inconceivable. So imagine how much a mother has faith in a 5-year-old child. I mean, it's unimaginable in material sense. Mother's faith in their child. And that faith that she had in her child, she did not stop him from going. That faith that she had in her child gave him strength. He said, yes, my mother said, the sages that live in the forest, and the sages will be able to help me find God. But where do I find the sages? So just start walking and start talking to the trees and the wild animals and see if you can find God. So number one principle is, in prayers, it truly helps when there is an encouragement and support system. And the mother is naturally guiding this 5-year-old boy to pursue something greater in life. And when you have that blessing, then you have to have determination. So in prayers, you need blessings of a teacher. And she is playing the role of a teacher in this. And teacher means someone who's always encouraging and supportive. And the second principle is that this young boy is filled with determination. And so determined, he did not even care whether he would live or die, eaten by his frail little body being eaten by these wild animals in the jungles. And the third principle is that even though his second teacher, Narada, who is known as the teacher of the universe, he has this unique ability to travel from interplanetary traveling monk, is what he is. He goes from one planet to another in different time zones, and he just is there to assist. So everyone who is seeking something spiritual and seeking to really, really show gratitude to the divine through Vandanam, then he appears to them in the form of a teacher to assist the student in the pursuit of spiritual self-realization. So this Narada is testing the student. Come on, you're just a little baby. You could get eaten by these animals. Why don't you go home? Your mother will miss you. Your father loves you so much. It was just a little mistake. He didn't mean to do it. And Narada gave every single logical argument. And this 5-year-old boy said, no, I'm not having it. I want this. Some of you may be mothers, a 5-year-old child, when they're so determined to get their toy, they will throw a fit and a tantrum, and they will get what they want. I remember going to a Target one time, and the mother was dragging this boy through Target, and this boy grabbed a toy, and the mother noticed it. And the mother was trying to convince the child, no, you can't have it. And he literally went on his back and he was throwing his arms and his leg, and he was screaming so loud. So mother picked up the toy and handed it over to the kid, and he got what he wanted. Such determination, right? So here, this five-year-old prince, he is being logically presented by his teacher that he should go home. But he was so determined to see and meet the divine, to have a kingdom greater than the creator of the universe, of this universe, because there's many, many universes. And he got it. He got it because the divine can fulfill all desires. So in yoga, it is explained in this beautiful Sanskrit text, akama sharva kamova. He says, doesn't matter you have desire or you have material desires or you have desire for liberation. It is always nice to sincerely pray from within the heart. Whatever you may want, you can always offer prayers from within the heart. all the desires will be fulfilled. Sometimes we worry, oh, all the desires will be fulfilled, but how come my desires have not been fulfilled? So therefore, please come in. I'm staying in Dr. Prashant's house. He just came to give us something to drink. So, yeah, all desires will be fulfilled. And this is what the prayers, this Vandanam is all about. This island in the heart of prayers, whatever it is that you want. But it may not come under your rules and your circumstances, because sometimes we have a tendency to think that we are omnipotent. Is that how you say it? Omnipotent? Omniscient? That we know everything, and God is omnipotent, so he can give you everything. So we make a deal with God. I know what I want, and I know when I want, and God, you should just give it to me now, because you're God. You can give me whatever, you have power over everything. So when we generally pray, we have this kind of contracts with God. We'd like to share powers, Yes, Narayani Devi.
I have found that you have to be very specific with what you pray for, or you'll get blasted, because God loves us so much.
Yes. And ideally, if you pray for unconditional, pure, eternal spiritual love, which in Sanskrit is called prema bhakti, because that encompasses everything. Right? That is what we are all hungry for. That is what we live for. That is what we search for. That is what we are trying to taste in this world. This pure, transcendental, unconditional, eternal spiritual love. So therefore, if you want to get the ultimate prize, you have to pray for prema bhakti, because that's the real essence. So if you pray for material things, of course, sure, you'll get it. Just like in this case, Dhruva, he gets a kingdom, he gets a whole planet named after him, greater than the creator, because he needs to have his own planet. So he has his own planet, and then he's regretting. I'm like, why did I even ask for this? This, to me, feels like a broken piece of glass in comparison to eternal, transcendental, unconditional, eternal love. So then he was regretting that he appealed for material wealth. So therefore, when we're praying, regardless of what we want in life, we have to learn to pray from the heart. And that transformation that happens through prayers, it is a process of purification. Sometimes people say, oh, I pray for material wealth. It's okay. But that prayer, this practice of daily Vandanam, what that does, it purifies the heart, and the prayers become more and more and more pure. Just like a child, they want little toys, and then bigger toys, and then they lose interest, and then eventually they're like, Mom, I don't want anything. I just want to spend some time with you. So material things, they start to realize that it does not serve the purpose of our existence, which is to feel loved and to love others. So in this story of Dhruva, we understand that praying for material things is also okay. But simply through prayers, the process of prayer in itself, you'll purify our existence, where one day we'll actually be able to pray with utter sincerity and humility, and for the highest prize, which is prema bhakti, according to the yoga philosophy.